Okay, so let's dive into what's happening in West Africa. There's quite a bit of noise, specifically these protests we're seeing. Hands off the AES, banners popping up.
Yeah, and it's not just isolated. We're seeing reports from Burkina Faso, of course, but also Ghana, Liberia.
Which is interesting, right? Because Ghana and Liberia aren't even in the AES, the Alliance of Sahel States. It suggests this feeling, this solidarity with Captain Traoré and Burkina Faso. It's maybe wider than just those core countries.
Exactly. It points to, a shared sense of something, maybe concern, maybe agreement on the core issues being raised.
And those issues seem pretty clear from what the protesters are saying.
Yeah.
They're calling out foreign interference, like very explicitly naming France and the United States.
It feels like a very public statement.
Yeah.
They're essentially backing Burkina Faso's resistance against what they're calling imperialist destabilization.
Yeah, and if you look at the history, it taps into something deeper, doesn't it? These complex relationships, the perceptions of outside influence.
Right. It's not happening in a vacuum. There's a long backdrop to this.
And it's sustained, too. Reports say Ouagadougou has seen protests for, 2 weeks straight.
Which tells you something about the level of feeling. It's not just a momentary flash. There's real discontent there with the West, with what they see as neocolonialism.
This sort of indirect control, yeah.
And this perceived disrespect towards Captain Traoré. He seems to have become a symbol for them.
A symbol of defiance, maybe.
Could be. Defiance against external pressure, external narratives about how they should be governed.
And wasn't there a specific spark recently? Something that really ramped things up?
Well, yeah, it seems these remarks by U.S. General Michael Langley at a Senate hearing really landed badly.
The comments about Burkina Faso trading away its natural wealth to, quote, protect the regime.
Exactly that. And you can imagine how that was received on the ground in Ouagadougou. It seems to have really hit a nerve.
Yeah, I bet. Because statements like that, even if meant as criticism from afar, can easily be spun locally, right? Could even strengthen support for the leader being criticized.
Precisely. And the reaction seemed pretty immediate and, large.
Thousands of people, reports say, waving flags, holding posters of Traoré. It's a strong visual.
It definitely suggests a significant level of popular backing, or at least widespread agreement with the sentiment. It's not a fringe thing.
And the rhetoric from officials is strong, too. We have that soundbite from the Prime Minister, Jean-Emmanuel Ouedraogo, at a rally.
Oh, yeah. What did she say again?
Some will not sleep tonight, but their nightmare will last.
Right.
Because we are standing, ready until final victory. Pretty defiant.
Wow, yeah. That's language designed to galvanize, to project strength against perceived threats. It fits that narrative of struggle.
And they're bringing history into it, too, aren't they? Mentioning past leaders.
Yes, that's really significant. They're talking about preventing another Sankara, another Lumumba Gaddafi.
Yeah.
Figures seen as targeted for standing up to external powers.
The message seems to be, Africa's watching this time, we won't let it happen again.
It frames the current situation as part of a much longer fight for, genuine independence. It's powerful framing.
And it's not just about pushing back against interference. They're also rejecting lectures from the West, aren't they? About democracy and human rights.
There's definitely that element, like that quote from a protester, something along the lines of, Africa created democracy first.
Not the kind that bombs nations that don't agree with them. Oof. That's pointed.
It really is. It shows a deep skepticism towards Western models, especially when they're seen as hypocritical or selectively applied, a real push for African solutions.
Okay, so we have this popular sentiment, these protests. But it's also translating into political action, right?
Yeah.
With the Alliance of Sahel States, the AES.
Absolutely. Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger. That alliance itself is a major development, a move towards, more autonomy, more regional cooperation among themselves.
And they've made a big move recently, haven't they? Something about Morocco.
Yes, that's potentially huge. They're backing a Moroccan initiative to get access to Atlantic trade routes.
For landlocked countries like them, that sounds like a game changer.
It really could be. Think about it being landlocked. They've always relied heavily on coastal ECOWAS neighbors like Benin, Côte d'Ivoire, Senegal.
Which creates dependencies, vulnerability.
Exactly. So this Moroccan partnership, which apparently started coming together last November, offers an alternative, a direct route to global markets via Moroccan ports.
So potentially less reliance on those specific neighbors. Diversification.
That's the idea. Low transport costs, maybe more trade control, less vulnerability to regional politics spilling over into port access. It really could reshape things.
And there's funding involved, too. A bank?
Yeah, the Confederate Bank for Investment and Development. It's supposed to fund infrastructure, energy, agriculture within the AES. It reinforces that move towards self-reliance.
Setting up their own financial mechanisms, prioritizing their own projects. Makes sense.
It's a key step if you want real economic integration and less dependence on outside institutions with their own agendas or conditions.
And the economic strategy goes further. Something about a huge import levy.
That's right. They're talking about a Confederate import levy, potentially worth over $833 billion.
Wow. What's the goal there?
Explicitly, to build economic independence from what they see as Western-controlled systems. It's a signal they want to foster their own industries, keep more value within the bloc. It's a bold move.
Okay, so AES is consolidating, making economic plays.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's this other twist. Togo.
Yeah, that's a fascinating development. Togo expressing interest in joining the AES.
Which is interesting because, well, Togo isn't geographically Sahel, right? It's coastal.
Exactly. And that's the potential strategic advantage. If Togo joins, suddenly the AES isn't landlocked anymore. It gets direct sea access through Togo.
That would be massive for them logistically.
Absolutely. It would further reduce reliance on other coastal states.
And isn't there some irony with Togo's president? Wasn't he just appointed by ECOWAS to mediate with the AES?
Precisely. So the person tasked by the wider regional body to engage with the AES might actually end up joining the alliance he's supposed to be mediating with.
That's complex. It suggests some real shifts in regional alignments might be underway. Maybe dissatisfaction with the existing structures.
It certainly raises questions. Could signal a search for alternative ways to cooperate in the region? Though you do have to wonder, does relying on Morocco or potentially Togo just create different dependencies down the line?
That's a very fair point, something to watch. So just to kind of pull it together, we're seeing these widespread protests, this anti-foreign interference sentiment really taking hold.
Right, driven by a desire for more autonomy.
And at the same time, the AES is actively strengthening itself. Politically, economically, strategically, like with the Morocco deal, the bank, the potential Togo expansion.
It all points towards, well, a growing sense of unity among those states and a very determined push for self-determination, for charting their own course.
It feels like a potentially pivotal moment for West Africa, this combination of popular feeling and concrete state action.
It definitely suggests the geopolitical landscape there is shifting, maybe significantly.
Which leads us with a thought for you, the listener. Thinking about Africa's history with foreign intervention and seeing these assertive steps by the AES, what could the long-term impact be on the continent's ties with global powers? And maybe more fundamentally, what does this growing assertion of agency really mean for West Africa's future, its economic path, its political independence?
Yeah, definitely a lot to chew on there. What happens next could really set a new direction.
That's it for this episode. Thank you so much for staying with us. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, share, and comment your thoughts on this deep dive conversation. Oh yeah, don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, stay anchored in truth.